14 Spring Promotion Tournament live from Cologne, Germany. Now, even though the SUPA Hot Crew is just one win away from taking this best-of-3 series and earning best-of-5 series and earning a spot in the LCS, it's SK Gaming that's coming into match 4 with momentum after a huge Game 3 win. And guys, I just want to talk about a couple of things of that last game. First up, Jess is stepping up on Orianna, even though he was up against Moops' Morgana, which is one of his favorite champions. He played it 3 times in the group stage and did very well. Why do you think that is that he was able to step up here?
Well, I think one of the biggest things was the Orianna was taken away from him the previous 2 games. And this time they picked Orianna before SUPA Hot Crew would. And I think it's just one of those things of when you failed a couple times, continuing to switch it up until you find the thing you really gel with is just what really helped him with that victory.
How do you think Orianna-Morgana matchup is supposed to go?
I think it's an equal matchup early. I think it's really hard for both of them to kill each other. Morgana has a seal, Orianna has a seal, and Morgana doesn't have enough damage. So it's going to be like a farm fest, and that's how it was on mid lane. Pretty much they were both farming, and it's going to be up to team fights. Who's going to do better ultimates? Who's going to do better catch with Morgana, if poke with Orianna? Who's going to do better in team fights is what's going to decide the game.
And I think the farm fest that happened really kind of calmed Jess's nerves a little bit because he struggled in the previous 2 games. And one other thing I want to add about the Morgana that was a little bit tricky is even though they picked it last, they picked Morgana into what was really 4 magic damage dealers on the other time. And it affected his build because he delayed his Zhonya's Hourglass and couldn't actually get involved in fights early on, which kind of helped SK pull ahead a bit in the early game.
And then going further into that game, they had a Dr. Mundo, who of course skills very well. And although Freddy played it in game 1, and he didn't play bad that game 1, and how come it worked now and it didn't then? Is that just the team play at a higher level?
Well, it was a bit of everything, but the first game, Sivana got really, really fed. So Mundo couldn't really, like Sivana was going alone and dealing with everyone, while Mundo could handle one guy, so it's not. But this game, it was the opposite. He got really fed. He was able to go in and never die, pretty much. They had to ignore him. They couldn't really, if they hit him, they waste their time. So it was a perfect game to play Mundo. You're unkillable, you run in, you do whatever you want, and you go where you please, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, he was really just way too big to fail in that game. The added thing as well was just Jess's was a factor in game 3, where it was not a factor in game 1. If you think way back to game 1, Zed could not make it into team fights once people got the Guardian Angels, but this game was just a series of Orianna ults, it seemed like. Every time he used that thing, they'd swing a team fight and get a bigger advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we look at all this from a psychological standpoint, it's kind of like SK was able to bounce back, as they did in the DreamHack final. They were also down against KMT that one game and came back. But will SUPA Hot Crew, also a very fairly new team, be able to bounce back from this loss?
Well, I guess it's all about mentality right now. Like SUPA Hot Crew, I have so many problems pronouncing their name. Super Hot.
I just want to say super hot.
Super hot.
Super hot.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Super Hot Crew. I don't know. I think they won the first 2 games. They maybe get some pressure, but I think they should feel confident. They still have 2 more games to go if they lose this one. They just have to win 1 game. They just have to relax, go like, let's forget this game. Let's play like we did the first and the second game. Focus on what we did good or what they did bad those games and make it happen again. And SK has to do exactly the same. Think, okay, we got a fresh new start. Let's analyze why we won this game. Let's make it happen again. Let's work in what we failed the first games.
Yeah, and if at all possible, SK needs to kind of pull back to the last tournament finals they were in where they had their backs against the wall. And if they could somehow pull back from a 2-0 like they did a 1-0 previously, it's going to kind of be a story that they're a bit of a comeback kids. And it's not like we haven't seen teams come back from 2-0 before in a promotion best of 5.
Absolutely. So I'm going to ask you to call it. Is SUPA Hot Crew going to close it out, or is SK going to take another one?
Yeah, I'm going to still go for SK. This game, SK is going to win it.
All right.
Actually, kind of going to have to go the other way. At this point, I think even though SK adapted well, SUPA Hot Crew is going to have something back. Sure, the series kind of starts as soon as both teams lose a game. So at this point, we're going to get to see what SUPA Hot Crew has to adapt to because we've kind of already seen what SK's secondary hand is.
Yep, very interesting to see what's coming up.